This shit irritates me so much, and no one in the world, not a single person, should ever care this much about this, and yet here I am. So we're going to talk about this because I want to start doing movie reviews, and I was going to do a horror movie review for Halloween, and then I realized we have to talk about this first. So many people use the 1 through 10 scale incorrectly. It makes me so irritated, and it shouldn't. This doesn't matter at all. But the amount of times I'll hear someone say something like, she's mid, she's a 3. Or that movie was so bad, 6. What? 5 is neutral. 5 is neutral. If someone is mid as in middle, that means they're a 5. If a movie was bad, it can't be a 6 because 6 is on the good side of the scale. I have to explain the correct way. I have to explain the way I use these scales. That way you guys know in the future for my movie reviews how I'm doing this. First of all, we have the 0 through 10 versus the 1 through 10. I prefer 0 through 10 because that puts 5 nice in the middle. If the movie was not good or bad, you watched it and you're like, yep, that's a movie, that's a 5. If it's perfect, 10. If there's nothing good about the movie, you can't think of a single good thing, it's a 0. I've actually never seen a 0. Usually at least one actor does an okay job or something. Some people like to do the 1 through 10, which technically, if we want to be real smart asses here and be super irritating, 5.5 is in the middle. But I understand that that's really like pulling hairs at that point. So if you want to use 1 through 10 and make 5 neutral, I get it. Just know that that does mean you only have 4 bad numbers and 5 good numbers. So it does kind of piss me off. So these are 3 options. I like the 0 through 10. So that's what I'm going to use. Then also with movies, there's a third option. A movie can be good, bad, or awesome. Because a movie can be dog shit, but it was so awesome that you still had a super fun time watching the movie. People usually refer to those as fun bad. Prime example of a bad, awesome movie is Morbius. That was one of the worst superhero movies, supervillain movies, whatever, that I've ever seen in my life. But it was awesome. I had so much fun watching that movie. That shit went hard. That shit went so hard. And then we have movies that are bad and not awesome. Those are just boring, like Downsizing. I was so excited for that movie. That movie could have been so good. And then it just kind of fell flat. The movies that are bad and they're not even fun bad, we don't recommend those. Then you have movies that are good but not awesome. So you watched the movie, it was a good movie, but you weren't like, yeah, that was so sick. You know what I mean? Like Titanic. And then you have the best movies, which are good and awesome, like Lord of the Rings. Another prime example of a movie that's bad but awesome. I recently watched Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior with my dad. That shit was so hype. Everyone dressed like they were going to like a gay rave. I loved that. Everyone was so fly. I need a whole new wardrobe just from that movie. The fact that everyone wants gas so much, but nobody gives a shit about water, that was so awesome. But that movie was ass. Why does nobody care about water? They're like in a desert. I don't think I saw a single person drink water that entire movie, but they looked fly as hell. So the awesome scale is legitimate and it's important. Now, a kind of a similar scale but different is unbiased versus biased, and this pisses me off too. Just because you don't like the genre doesn't make it a bad movie, you guys. I don't like war movies because they make me sad. Does that mean Glory's a bad movie? Does that mean Saving Private Ryan's a bad movie? No! Or just because you liked it doesn't necessarily make it a good movie. I had so much fun watching the Dora the Explorer movie because I am a sucker for like Indiana Jones-esque movies, like just like fun adventure movies. I love it every time. I eat it up every time. But was Dora the Explorer the best movie I've ever seen? No, it was cute. You know, maybe I'd give it a 6. but I loved it. So there's the unbiased scale and the biased scale. That's just how much did you personally enjoy the movie? Did it entertain you? Did you have fun while watching the movie? And then on the unbiased scale, that's when you're like, okay, I'm going to try not to think about what I prefer personally. I'm going to try not to think about the fact that I hate this actor's face. I'm just going to try to be like, was this movie well done? We're trying to be the critic from Ratatouille. Was this a good movie or a bad movie? And then answer the question. A prime example of a movie that was super good, but my enjoyment level was actually pretty low, was Uncut Gems. Okay, that movie was very well done. Adam Sandler did a great job. It was really cool to see him in a role like that. The movie didn't really have any holes in it. It kept my attention the whole time. The way it was shot, the like camera angles and the way that the camera moved added to the stress of the movie. Super well done movie. That movie is like a 9 or a 10 on the unbiased scale. But I didn't like it that much. It stressed me the fuck out. I didn't enjoy myself. I didn't enjoy my time watching the movie. I had to go on a walk afterwards. So on a bias scale, that movie was like a 4 for me. I don't want to ever rewatch that movie, but it's a good movie. Just because it stressed me out doesn't mean it was supposed to stress me out. If anything, that makes it a better movie because the goal of the movie was to stress you out, and it did. Well done, Uncut Gems, but I hate you. Okay? Okay. Another way that I scale movies personally, although this one doesn't piss me off. This one, to each their own. But I do think it's important to keep a movie's genre in mind while you're scaling the movie. Because let's be honest, like, is a horror movie ever going to be as thought-provoking and life-changing as The Fisher King? V for Vendetta, Fight Club, Tarzan. No, but it's a horror movie. It's supposed to be fun and scary. If you watched a horror movie and you thought it was really good, like, for example, my favorite horror movie is The Invisible Man. I think it's a 10. I think it's an excellent horror movie. But if you're like, oh yeah, Invisible Man was so good, but like, it didn't make me think the way Fight Club made me think. So, 8. Whereas Fight Club's a 10 or something like that. It's like, that's kind of not fair. Because Fight Club is a commentary on society and men, and it's a thought-provoking movie. Invisible Man is just supposed to be scary, right? So Invisible Man's kind of, I think Invisible Man can be thought-provoking in ways as well, but I don't know if it's fair to put those movies on the same scale, or like, are you gonna watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World and say, it was really like awkward and cheesy, so 4. It's supposed to be awkward and cheesy. The main character is Michael Cera, for God's sake. You can't dock a movie for being awkward and weird when that was the goal. That makes me so mad. If you watch an action movie and it was just kind of a dumb action movie, maybe it was good then. It's an action movie. It's not supposed to make you cry the way 8 Below makes you cry. You're just watching some guys beat some people up. So that's another thing that I think is very important. I scale my movies based on their genre because I just don't think that Lilo and Stitch and Smile 2 should be on the same scale. That just seems so silly to me. Now that we've got that all sorted out, I recently watched Anna Kendrick's new movie, Woman of the Hour, and it was pretty good. 7.